Hey everyone, this is Overpass Inside. No, this is Overpass Live. My name's Eric and I make apps. Welcome to this week's live stream. The live stream is something we do every Friday night at 5 p.m. UK time. So depending on if it's daylight savings or whatever, it could be a different time for your time zone. But this is where we just hang out and we look at each other's apps and we talk about what's gone on in the news, and it's totally unscripted and we don't know what we're going to talk about. But today we're going to try to keep it to an hour because sometimes it could be up to 2 hours long, but we're going to try to keep it to an hour today. So, let's see. Hussein Gokas, how's it going? Mega Man first. You guys are both first. Johan Albrechtson, hey, how's it going? Azimuth PH, hey, how are you? Mega Man, Parash Bot, hey, how's it going? CH Development. Rodrigo's in the house, which is something people used to say when I was a kid. I know today is probably something different, and I'll figure out what that is in the next few decades. Let me know if you guys can hear me, by the way. Let's see. Johan says, how does Corporation App Store connect tax forms and agreements work? Should I use an accountant? And Hawk says, hey there. So the Corporation App Store connect tax forms. I've used those. Those kind of things where when you set up an App Store account, it's so difficult. In fact, today I was actually setting up a Huawei account, a Huawei App Store account. Finally, given everything that's going on, and I needed to put in my DUNS number, and I thought I had to go reapply for it, but luckily I had an email. Luckily, they sent me an email with a DUNS number on it, but that was something I needed for the App Store, doing that. But it's been such a long time since I set that up. I don't remember a lot of what it was, but I do have a company, and I did have to do all that tax forms. Now, I do have an accountant, but my accountant doesn't really know anything about what goes on the Apple App Store. So every quarter I have to send them I have to send my accountant the Google Play transactions, but not with the App Store. So it's something I haven't really have to worry about. But when you talk about the corporation one, like I'm an app developer through a company, so it's a company account. However, it's not an enterprise account. So I don't know if an enterprise account is different. But for me, yeah, it's been pretty straightforward. I mean, there's something, I don't know if you guys noticed this. I noticed this being American. So being American and living over here, I notice how American-centric a lot of these stores are. Like doing the Amazon App Store was kind of a pain because they were asking all these things that were related to the IRS. And because my foot is kind of in both doors, where I'm an American citizen, but my company's a UK company, I was never quite sure about that. Do I put in my company number or do I put in my social security number? But it does seem to be very U.S. centric. And the fact that we have to do a Dun and Bradstreet number on those kind of things is just kind of stupid. Like, I still don't know why they need that, but I've done it. So, so I guess to answer your question is I don't know the answer to that. But for me, I don't have to. I do have an accountant, but my accountant doesn't really do anything with that, Johan. So. Let's see, CH Development. Any thoughts on the Google Huawei thing going down? So that's what the video tomorrow is about. I just finished recording it, and it's kind of embarrassing. Rodrigo was asking me about it earlier in the week, and a few other people have been asking me my opinions of it, and I haven't really been following it. So I had to so I spent today catching up on that. I mean, I was reading about earlier in the week. I was reading about the Supreme Court thing with the iOS last week. But this week doing the whole Huawei and Google thing, which seems to be, it's going to affect us a lot, and it's embarrassing that I didn't know anything about it. First of all, it has to do with my country, the country I'm a citizen of, the country I studied in the army, so learning Chinese, my industry, the app stores, and I didn't know much about it. But yeah, I don't know if it's going to be good or bad. It seems like while we think this may be the end of Huawei, I think that they might surprise us. I mean, they've got a lot of momentum, and when I think about it, they might be what we really need another app store. I mean, we can't just have two. We can't just have iOS and Android forever. And I wonder if, because there's two things. First of all, they could just Huawei could just take Android as the open source platform and build on that, but they don't have the Google Play Store or whatever. Or they are working on their own operating system too, so maybe they'll have their own operating system, and then we would have to think, how would that work? And even going through the other app store, like setting up the Huawei app store, we have to see whether or not it's worth doing it. I think initially it might be, maybe not, but it could really surprise us. I mean, they might be the one that takes over the Chinese market. I mean, the Chinese Android market is so split up, and they might be the ones that actually do it for us. And it would be nice to see like a change in that area. Actually, I actually got pretty optimistic about it. I mean, it's just funny. Or it could be like there was a thing earlier today saying that Trump said, that Huawei may figure in a trade deal, so then that might fix everything. So I'm not quite sure how that's going to work, but it's gonna be different. It's gonna be a change. Like, so when I think about, for me it's Google Play and the App Store all the way. Like, well, App Store you don't really have a choice. App Store is I spilled water. The App Store is the only you can't do an iOS app other than the App Store. But for Google, you got Google Play, you've got the Amazon store, you got all these different app stores, right? But like Amazon has never seemed worth it to me. Like I haven't had a lot of success with Amazon. I've also done Samsung App Store. I've done a bunch of the Chinese app stores, but Google Play is by far the biggest. And it would be nice to have something else in there, some other competitor on the scene that we could release to that would give Google Play a run for its money, right? And I think that the competition would just be good all around. But that's just my opinion. I mean, what do you guys think about that? Let's see. Rodrigo says, were you able to log in and upload an app on the Huawei store? Because I can't see blank. I just see a blank page. So need paper towels in here. Yeah, no, Rodrigo, the Huawei App Store, like, registering for an account, it was painful. First of all, I had cores because I was doing a bit of Cordova development sometime during the week, so I had cores turned on my Chrome browser, so that was causing some sort of trouble. But I didn't know it. I just kept getting an error message whenever I'd submit it, and it was just slow. Like, you had to select the country, and then it auto-populates it auto-populates state and region, but it took like a minute. So like you just keep clicking on it, and the only way I was able to find out it was a slow connection, it's probably because of the Chinese servers, was because I'm a developer. I opened up the developer console and I could watch the network traffic going through, so I could see it saying pending. But it was like a very painful process to set that up. Not nearly as painful as doing the Samsung App Store, which was super slow. But it was not ideal. But they didn't ask me for any money. Like, I didn't say $25 for, or anything like that. So at least that's something. But I haven't got to the point where I've actually uploaded something, and I haven't put bank details in yet. So the whole thing about going with the Huawei store is not just I have a new place to release it. It would be if it was free apps. But because we're talking about like in-app purchases, push notifications, all that kind of stuff, that could be very, very difficult. So Discovery says, I'm not finding the true path. Sad to learn programming. Aim is to get a good job. Okay, cool. Sorry. So Discovery Center, what do you mean the true path? You're talking about the true path in terms of like your life's course? Elaborate, please. ViewLab says, please suggest a better monetization platform other than Admob and Facebook for Android apps. Okay, in-app purchases and just straight purchases is an option, right? If you could do that. In terms of ads, for me, Admob has always paid the best, but you have to have a lot of impressions to make ads work. Lately, I've been hearing a lot about the Facebook. Actually, I won't say that. John was telling me about his. John sending me some emails on some of his Facebook stuff, which was pretty interesting. But I won't share that just yet because we're still testing that. But there's other ad networks out there, but those are the two that I think work the best, at least in my opinion. And if anybody knows anything else, let me know. But I've never had anybody say, oh, AppLovin is way better than Admob, or this network is way better than Admob. For me, Admob has always been the one that works the best. Guru Gozgowski says, Hola, ¿cómo estás, Eric? Hey, how's it going? ¿Cómo estás? Mega Man 2016 says, hey, has anyone noticed their eCPM going up? Could this be due to Google cracking down on ad fraud? I haven't noticed. I haven't really been paying attention to that figure. Let's see. But I'll have a look. I'll have a look here. I have noticed, like, I've had some really good days in the past week, especially week. For me, it's weekends are really good, and then midweek it goes like it's like if I show my graph, it goes up and then down, and it's just like it's the same cycle. I get the same good days. Amog says, hello, what's multi-stream? Multi-stream, are you talking about in terms of this live stream or in terms of apps? Let's see. Daniel Gill says, terms and condition of apps with GDPR. Yeah, Daniel, you could. There's a lot of free terms and conditions websites out there. When I did mine, I paid for it. So I went to a website where you can just put a bunch of tick boxes and it will generate a GDPR compliant terms and conditions for you. I paid like $100 for it, and it was like, but it turns out you can get that free lots of other places. So there's lots of places to do it. And you just have to make sure that it says in there like what you're going to do with the data, what kind of data you collect about people. Now, luckily for me, I don't collect any data on the users, aside from analytics, which is not actual information, but it's just saying we collect anonymous analytics data. I think it says, and I just have like one terms and conditions for all of my apps. So rather than do one for each of them, and I just have that same one go through. Which nobody's told me I can't do, so that's what I do. So I have like just on my website, which is like a WordPress site, I have a terms and conditions page on there. So I mean, and this is one of the things about the terms and conditions. I always wonder why, like, I went and paid for it, and I thought, why don't I just copy somebody else's? Because it would be kind of the same. So, but I mean, I would say go ahead and on my website and copy it, but I don't know, like, I don't want to be sued if you like. If something goes wrong, like, I'd rather just be only liable for myself. Allah Kamal says, hi, Eric. I feel Google is now supporting Kotlin than Java everywhere, and I think Google will stop supporting Java very soon. What do you think? I don't know if it'll stop supporting Java. I think it'll probably be like, I always think of Kotlin as being like Swift, and that's just because it's obvious, the obvious parallels, although it's two completely different companies, two completely different languages. But like iOS has so many people using Objective-C and a history of it that I don't think they'll ever drop Objective-C. In the same way, I don't think Android would ever drop Java. But I think when we start to see it, I think you're going to start to see tutorials come out, and they're going to stop showing it in both languages, like when they do start to do that. And it'd be interesting to find out. And I could kind of understand it if Kotlin, if they have more control over Kotlin and none of the baggage that, who owns Java and all that kind of stuff. But let's see. CH Development says, even if Huawei still uses something that can run Android apps, will Admob still serve ads to them? This is a good question, because I've always used Admob for, I've used it still when I was on Amazon App Store. I've used it on Chinese app stores. I've always used the same Admob. Now, and I always just assumed that it was smart enough to know which platform it was on in terms of like, if it shows an ad for another app, if somebody clicks on it, they should be able to go to Google Play or whatever it is. So hopefully they have those kind of stuff. And when I asked about it, I think I asked about it once, can you run Admob on Amazon App Store? And the answer was yes. And I think it was somebody at Admob who told me that. But now I'm starting to wonder whether or not I was wrong about it. But I've always just run the same one on both. So that would be, so I assume that would still be the same. I mean, I think it would be Admob, because Admob still does run in China. I do have ads running, like, especially on the iOS side in China, that are being served up there. So Bart Racka, hey, how's it going? Let's see, Rodrigo. Is anyone here using the Huawei store? I just signed up today. Wale Studio says, "Sir, I am using React Native. My app uses bottom navigation bar to go to next activity. I have an issue in implementing interstitial ads or intestinal ads as the object called is not public. So I cannot preload my ads. Any ideas?" Let's see. So you can't load the interstitial ads as the object called is not public. So I cannot preload my ads. Isn't there any way to load it in the top level? Can't you? I'm not sure. I mean, I would imagine that you should be able to, but I'm not. Yeah. Oh, well, I wish I could answer that question. I guess I'm not familiar enough. We have a few client apps that are done in React Native, but we're not serving ads in any of them. So we're not. I've never actually used Admob within a React Native application. In fact, I don't think I've ever used it in an Ionic application either. Rodrigo has, so I don't know how well it works. I've used Admob in Corona applications, and I've used it in native applications. So in both native iOS and Android, but I haven't used it in those ones. But somebody else in the comments, somebody else, if you know the answer to that, please answer that one for Wale, because that would be good for all of us to know. Let's see. Giant Geeky. Hey, how's it going? Biswajit, how are you? Mohammed Khalif. How to avoid reskin? How to avoid reskin? Like somebody reskinning your own application? I don't know. I mean, I always wonder if it was possible to avoid it happening, then all those reskinned apps on Chupa Mobile that are like doing like every successful app. Let's say it's, well, Flappy Bird's a good example, or whatever, 2048 or whatever it is, you know, as soon as there's something that's a hit, there's like reskins of it all over the place. And I always wonder, how can they stop that? Not only are there reskin code out there, it's being sold to lots of different people. So I don't know, unless you go through and copyright it somehow, or copyright it or have some sort of patent against it. I don't know how you could do it. I think you just have to be diligent of it and make sure that, because I'm the worst person to ask. I get everybody copying my app. But I also go through and report them to Google Play. And for me, it's not so much, I won't report another app if it's like a similar concept. But if they use, if the design is too similar, if they use the same name, if it's like genuinely trying to confuse the user and trying to go through and steal all the marketing efforts and all the word of mouth out from underneath me, that's something that I can't really stand. I mean, it's like if you're going to open up a bookstore, like if I was going to open up an online bookstore and I was going to call it Amazon, I was going to use Amazon in the name somehow, or I was going to use Amazon coloring and lettering and design and just try to confuse the user to think that I was somehow affiliated with it, then they would sue me rightly. But if I open up an online bookshop, I'm not stepping on their toes in any way. We're just in the same thing. And so it's like, it's just what I happen to believe. Like all the copycats. And I've done so many videos where I talk about the people copying my apps. It's that I know there's some people out there just think I'm just being awkward about it, but there's a lot that I just let go. Like I think, okay, if they could do this app better than I can, then fair play to them. That's good. I gotta market mine better, or I gotta keep ahead of them in terms of that. But if it is like they're just trying to confuse people to think that it's the same, then that's completely different. Greta says, "Hey Eric, have you made any videos on SQL versus NoSQL?" I was going to do that today. That was one of the things I was thinking about today. SQL versus NoSQL, and talked about the ORM for database solutions on mobile apps. No, I have not. In fact, today the video I did for tomorrow is on the whole Huawei thing. But that was what I was thinking about doing today, because I had a conversation with a client in the office yesterday about that very question: NoSQL versus SQL. We weren't talking about MySQL, but we're just the SQL versus NoSQL, and we're talking about basically it was somebody who went to another developer, and the other developer was giving them all NoSQL solutions, and he was kind of thinking, I think this should be SQL, but I don't really know. And looking at what it was, I thought I think that one should be SQL too. And it's like there's drawbacks and benefits to both, right? There are situations where NoSQL works so much better, and then there's other things where I think a SQL database would work better, especially like tabular data just makes sense in certain situations, especially when it comes to something you have to run a lot of reports on. Like for me, like just I think it's coming from my background or my early IT jobs were all in investment banks, so there was always reports. You know, a manager could come to you and say, how many orders have we had in this period, or whatever. I mean, there's just all the permutations of it. And to open up SQL Server Management Studio and just being able to type in some SQL and run a report and see the results instantly was much better than having a NoSQL solution where you have to go through and write, like, maybe it's just me, like go through and write something which pulls the data down and then goes through and loops through it. And I know you could do, there's lots you could do with NoSQL and Firebase, which being one of them. There's lots you could do there, saying like order by and first and whatever, but there's certain things like a like query that I need to do, and just joining tables. And I don't like the idea that the nested objects rather than being another object entity. And I know you could do other object entities in NoSQL too, but I just think in some situations SQL is cleaner. And I think in the situation what I was talking with the client about was more that the developer was probably a newer developer. And I say newer like 5 years. I'm not saying inexperienced. I'm just saying newer, like maybe in the last 5 years or so, and probably wasn't used to SQL. And I've worked with developers who've been really, really good, but when it came to SQL, which I think is just something, I think SQL is easy, they were like just really didn't want to do anything in SQL because it was just confused by the whole thing. So I would like write SQL queries and say, okay, we're going to join this table and this table, and we're going to do an outer join on this one, and that's just the way that I do. But I think there's certain use cases where SQL, even though it's an older, it makes more sense, right? I just think it does. And stuff like, you know, I have this data, it's in tabular format. I want to be able to export it as CSV. I don't, you know, I want to be able to report all kinds of different things. I want to be able to check data, and I don't want to have a developer do it for me. I mean, but really you don't want your end users using SQL anyway. But if you're going to do NoSQL, you have to like anticipate all the different type of reports they're going to run. Let me know if you disagree with me on that, but that's just my opinion. Sometimes SQL works better. BizYG says, anyone uploaded a 64-bit game in Play Store? Does a Play Store say you uploaded a 64-bit game? So this is something, just this morning, I got an email from Google Play saying these apps are not 64-bit compliant, right? And I thought they were. So I was like, damn, I gotta figure out why they are. It would be nice if they... So quite a few of my apps I'm going to have to redistribute here in the next few months just because they are not 64-bit compliant. And I thought just because they've been compiled recently, surely the compiler would have handled that for me. Yeah, I guess I'm going to have to look at that. But yeah, I think that's something we're all going to have to deal with that, right? So at the same time, you guys are all submitting your apps to the Huawei store. You could also be compiling them into 64-bit at the same time. Giant Geeky says Mira Loda Deca, which I don't know what that means. Let's see. Bart Raka says, yes, huge increase in eCPM after a massive dive at the beginning of the month. I have to look at mine. Let's see. Discovery Center says, I know 1 year for programming is sufficient to get a good job. No such source on the internet said, I want to learn Android development. Why can't you learn Android development? I don't understand this. I mean, this is... If you were to... Let's see. Okay, you're going to go get a job, and you're going to go to a job, and you... Depending on what kind of job you go for, sometimes you'll go to some place where they're looking for an Android developer, looking for somebody who knows what they're doing and they can do the job. And if you're like really experienced, then you're going to get paid more. If you're not so experienced, you're going to get paid less. But if you have a portfolio, it's going to be a lot better in your favor. Now, I know that when you go into a job, a lot of times you'll have some senior developer who writes the job spec who says, they should have continuous integration, and they should have unit testing experience, and they should use this library and this library and this ORM. By the way, we didn't talk about ORM with that last question on on SQL. They should be able to use this ORM system and all that kind of stuff. It's like a big long list, right? And for me, I said apply to it anyway. Screw it, apply to it anyway. If they're not paying attention to your CV and invite you into the interview, go in and blag through it, right? Just, you get a good day out, go visit their offices. You still get a chance to impress them, but it's get to the point where you can release an application. Get to the point, like, it's difficult to learn something if you don't have a goal in mind. I remember talking to other people who, when they're learning a software language, they have like a pet project, like they're going to do an accounting system or something, just something, or like a CRM. Or for me, like my go-to has always been project management software, like a Basecamp clone, right? When I was learning MVC framework, I remember I was trying to do like a Basecamp type of thing, but it was going to be way better. In my mind, I was like, it's going to be so awesome when I'm done. I never finished it, but I learned a whole lot doing it, right? Because I had a goal, like that's what I want to learn, and going towards it. And I think if you have something you can work on, if you're going to do a game or if you're going to do a database type thing, have it in your mind what you're going to do. If you're going to do something like, if you're going to do a game, then you would learn Unity, and you would start with, okay, how am I going to do the home screen? What's the home screen going to look like? Okay, and then you get to that point, and then you go to so I go to home, I click on start, then I go to the categories screen, I select my category, then I go to levels, I select my level. It's going to suck because you're just new at it, but you're going to get through it. But that enthusiasm with going through and seeing it go, and it's not like a hello world thing, you're going to be excited about it, right? I don't know about the rest of you guys, but when I'm watching a tutorial or when I'm like reading a book or whatever, and I'm trying to follow the steps step by step, I get bored. So a lot of times I'll deviate from that and just start to go and do my own thing. And then when it goes to the next step, then I have to that could be problematic. But yeah, no, Discovery, don't give up hope. You can do this. Shoot, man. If I can learn software development, you can learn software development, right? Just give yourself enough time and plug away at it. You know what? Anybody can learn anything if they really apply themselves. It's when you give up and you think, this is out of my, and we've all been there. Like, I'm sure everybody on the channel here who is a software developer, when you started, there may have been those doubts that sunk into your head in the early days where you thought, I'm not smart enough to learn this. I know, because I've been there. And there's always been concepts. I can remember for years, like when I got into VB development and I was learning it, there was a point where everybody was talking about object-oriented programming, and I kept trying to get my head around it, and I couldn't. I kept asking questions, and nobody would give me a straight answer, and I just couldn't get my head around, why would I use this? And then it was like a click, a eureka moment that came, but I just kept plugging away at it. The same with design patterns. Design patterns were something that I kind of got it, but I couldn't see why you would really do it. Some of the design patterns, so why would I use that? Why would I use dependency injections? That seems like I'm just adding overkill to this. And then you see it used really well, and you think, oh, that's testability. It's I can have different providers that I plug into this thing. And then you start to see it, and then it snaps. But we're all at that point in the early days where you think, this is way above me. For me, machine learning, trying to learn machine learning, I get to that point where I give up because I think, dude, man, my math is just not good enough for this. And then I give up, which is to my detriment. So, and I'm sure if I just was a little bit more disciplined, I could get through that. But we're all in that point. Let's see. Shivam Chaudhry says, how many developer console accounts can a single person own? I don't know. I think it's just one. Because they're at the point now where they could, Google, then they won't tell you. If you read through the Google Play, there was a blog post that came out in April where they talk about the changes to the Google Play Store based on the feedback from developers, and they talked about how they can identify if somebody has a bad account and they have a separate account, how they can link those two together, but they don't want to be it they don't want to do it publicly, or they don't want to say how they came to that, because then people will figure it out. Oh shit, let me go back. So let me just go back here. So let me see if I can find that article. Android blog. Android developer blog. Sorry, I'm going to show you my screen here in a second. Once I'm going to find this article first. Actually, I have to show my screen now. Cool. So it was a while back. This might be a bad idea to do on live stream. This might take me, but there was a really good article here where they talked about the changes that they were making to the review process in terms of there were faster turnaround times in terms of reviews, that kind of stuff. I'm not going to do this now because it will take me a while to find it, but they did talk specifically about how they're able to identify if you have a link account. This is why people will set up a second Google Play account and it gets suspended immediately, even though it's a brand new account, but because they're somehow associated with another one, which is why you got to be very careful about the developers you hire, and that's kind of a scary thing too. Let's see. But yeah, thanks for that, Shivam. Mohammed Abdul Salam says, I would want your advice. Should I create a game, then learn about the marketing, ASO, etc., or should I learn during development? And would you recommend spending $500+ on a project, or keep it free on my first project, or keep it free? But I think you should learn about it during the development, because the ASO, one of the things we all learn when we go from we put our apps live when we put our apps live and we find out we have to think about the title and the keywords and what people are downloading, it's almost too late. If you could think about it beforehand, if you know the basic concepts of beforehand, you may be able to make a better decision going forward. The flip side of that is that you're doing something that's geared towards the algorithm, and it's not going to be as good as something that's passionate and from the heart. So I think you should start the development, start creating the game, but think about that throughout the process. That way you're not shocked when you put it live and then you have to go through and change the title or change something there. Because if you've ever changed the title after you release something, it just causes all sorts of headaches. Because you think you've got ads, you've got backlinks, all these places that are with the wrong title on them. I've done that once where I've changed the title of an app, and even now I can never remember what the title actually is that I ended up with. But it's Chinese Heroes, and then I changed it to Chinese Mandarin Alpha Team because I thought, I want Chinese and Mandarin and Alpha, so that would be really cool rather than just Chinese Heroes. But then I had all of these Instagram posts, all these blog posts, everything had the old title on it. And even then, I never changed it on iOS, and it just confused the whole thing to change the name. In fact, my biggest app, EarSpy, I changed the name to Ear Agent, and that confuses things too. Let's see. Arima Kusei on Facebook. Hey, thanks for being on Facebook, Arima. Says 9 months in app making and made $34 overall so far. This sucks. I can't even reach my first goal of getting at least $1 passive daily revenue. How long did it take for you to get passive income of at least $1 a day? It took a few months. It didn't take 9 months though. Arima, let's have a. Do you mind if we have a look at your app? Maybe we can have a look at why people are getting it. Now. My question to you, Arima, is: are you getting the downloads? Are you getting the downloads and just not the revenue, or are you not getting the downloads? And then how are you monetizing it? Because getting $1 a day on advertising is going to be difficult. Through purchases, it's going to be easier. But you have to think, how are you going to do that? And in order to get to any of those stages, you have to get the downloads. You have to get people to find it and get to it. So Allah Kamal says, I can see that you are a great instructor. Why are you not doing programming language tutorials, especially on Android and iOS? Because there are people who could do it much better than I can, right? This is the, and I know I answered this quite a few, but here's what scares me. If you've ever worked with other developers, you know that sometimes there could be a lot of ego involved, and there's always somebody who can do it better than you or do it different than you. So you get into these kind of things where, and again, there's people who do it worse than you. So it's like there's different things. So like you get in a development team, and some people, they want to name their variables this way, they want to name it that way. Somebody says, I think you can shave a few milliseconds off this if you structured it this way or that, and it's annoying. Like it's just, this is why I don't like to code in like a public forum, really, because I know that your variable should be named differently. There's always gonna be somebody better, and I think it's just kind of maybe it's performance anxiety, but that's why. So and I think the big like there's no shortage of Android tutorials out there. There's no shortage of iOS tutorials out there, and there's people who do it really, really well. Every time I sit down to do a tutorial, I miss steps or I skip out steps, and it's just kind of, it's not really that. It just doesn't seem like that would be that much fun to me, right? For me, it's fun to look at the higher level picture and like how things go. Like, let's put these things on the app market. How's it going to work? And occasionally, I will talk about something that might be a little bit technical, but then I alienate a lot of people if I get too technical. If I did something specifically on Android, all the iOS people would be like bored. If I did something specifically on iOS, then the Android people would get bored. And I just think, I would be competing with something that would be like the equivalent of me doing a reskin, right? I would basically be doing something and I would be putting something out into a crowded market, hoping that mine is better than everybody else's, and everybody's going to come to my tutorial on Android. But why would they? Because there's already so much out there. At least that's kind of why, and also the performance anxiety thing, which is kind of funny. Let's see. Rodrigo says use ProGuard. About the reskinning thing. Yeah. Amog. It says multi-screening in your description. Yeah. So Amog, we basically about a month ago, we changed things up a little bit where we're not just streaming to YouTube anymore. We have it going to our YouTube channel and to our Twitter account. So we're trying to branch out a little bit, make it a little bit more flexible. Although not many people are watching because we've been doing it for YouTube for so long. Like Arima is watching from Facebook, which thanks, but like nobody else is. So it's always nice. So every time somebody comments from Facebook or Twitter, Neil gets excited. He's on the team and he's been watching everything, so he can see what's going on. So let's see. Phil J says, "Hey Eric, greetings from Portland, Oregon." Portland. Phil, when has Portland started Portland is really trendy, isn't it? Like being a Californian, I don't know if I've ever been to Portland. Is it cool? You got 8-hour time difference, same as where I grew up. Supercell Resources Hack says, "Do you leave a review on your own apps? I hear you can get sued for that." Can you get sued for that? Sometimes I do. I mean, I have. I think the first review I ever got was a 1-star review that said, "WTF, this sucks." That was the first one. It was like a dagger through my heart. After a few months of development, I released my first app to Google Play, and the first review was 1-star, "WTF, this sucks." And I didn't want to leave a review because I thought it'd be like, I just thought that would be kind of dishonest in a way. So I begged my teenage son, to leave a review. Just leave it a review because nobody's going to download it if it's just 1 star. Just bring it back up. And he left me a 3-star review. He goes, "Yeah, Dad, it's not that great," right? Which is, great. If you have kids, you know what that's like. So so there was that. But I always assume that, like, if you ever see an app with just 1 review on it, I always assume that's a developer, right? So I don't know if you can get sued for it. Who's going to sue you? Let's see. Hassan RM, also from Facebook. Thanks, Hassan. Neil's going to be really excited you're here. Hassan says, "How do you promote your games and apps when you launch it?" So this is you could either start promoting it before, which would always be a good idea, or you could do it after you go live. In the old days, you got a little bit of a bump in the beginning because it's in the what's new and featured sections, but now it's a lot harder because there's so much going in there. So it depends on your application, and it depends on your budget. If you have a marketing budget, probably the best thing to do would be go with Facebook ads, because you could target it specifically who you want to do. And again, it's based on your target user. So every app's going to be different. If you have if you have a fitness app, then you're going to be targeting a different user than if you have a jewel game, right? If you have a jewel game, which is the same as a lot of other jewel games, you might want to go out and find people who like the best one, and either through Facebook targeted ads, or maybe they're talking about it on Twitter or whatever, and then see if you could market it towards them and get that in front of them. But if it's really crowded, it's going to be hard. And if it's if it's a fitness app, of course you want to see if you can get it targeted towards people who are interested in fitness, interested in whatever, and thinking about your target user. For me, my target users for a lot of my apps are language learners, so it makes things a little bit easier. Like I'm thinking about teachers, parents of children parents who grew up who grew up overseas, but their children were born like in the U.S. or the U.K., so they might be interested in getting their children to learn that kind of stuff. So that's so it's thinking about your target user, thinking about your marketing budget. If you don't have a marketing budget, how can you get it in front of people? Can you do, what are people searching on that they can find it? There's so many different ways to look at it, and it's all going to be specific towards different ones. And if you don't have a budget for marketing, it could still be done, but you got to be a bit more creative about it. And also looking at the ASO, look at the keywords. Are people searching on it? If they're searching on it, are they finding it? And if they do search on it, how do you rank in the keywords? And in that group of keywords, what does your icon look like? What is the title? Does it look like something that's compelling to them? Or look at your Google Play user acquisition report. How often are people actually visiting the Play Store page? If they're not visiting it at all, then you need to look at your titles and your search terms and get that in front of people. If they are doing it, then if they are hitting it and they're not downloading it, then you need to look at your screenshots and your descriptions and stuff like that. And there's so much to look at, and it's such a loaded question. But if you put your app in here, we'll have a look at it, although we are kind of running out of time. UD says, hi Eric, for your client apps, do you mainly do native iOS development? I'd love to do native, but I can't justify the $4 to $5K Android iOS Android iOS project. I do React Native. What are your thoughts? I'm the same. So I always try to get my clients to go for, and again, most of the time they don't care. They don't care what it is. It's like they'll go by my recommendation. So we try to do it in some sort of cross-platform framework. So React Native is the one we've been using a lot lately. Occasionally we still have some that come in Ionic. Sometimes we'll have somebody that comes to us and they specifically want Ionic or native. So right now we've got several projects on. We've got one that's in native. We got one that's in native primarily because it needs accessibility features, right? Which is something that a lot of the other frameworks, while they'll address them, they're not as built in as they are into the operating system. So it needs for the hearing impaired and the sight impaired, that kind of stuff. So we have that. We have others that are done in React Native. We have some that are done in. We have one that is in Flutter, and we have a few in Corona, and then the rest of them are native. So there's for me it's like looking at it thinking, what is the best platform for this? Do we need a high frame rate? If we need a high frame rate, then we should look at something closer to native. If we need, if it seems like something that could be kind of on the fringes. So like an example would be, we have an app that communicates with UDP, with a device over UDP packets. And while the Cordova and the other frameworks did have that functionality in it, it wasn't well documented, and I thought, let's just go with native on this, because we don't want to end up painting ourselves into a corner where we have to start over again because there's one little thing we can't do through this plugin or this framework. So it's like those fringe cases where I think this is too close to the metal. It's too close to the metal to put into a framework, because I don't know if there's been another developer who's anticipated this in the past. Phil J says, I've been beginning to optimize my marketing channels based on the Traction book. I have that audio book. I think I've been through the first hour of it. I can't remember very much about Traction Book. Have you done something similar, pragmatically testing marketing channels to see which one works? I wish I could say yes, Phil. I haven't really. Yeah, even then, like, I guess I have a little bit, but not anything. Like, I don't have, like, I couldn't show you a chart saying, like, the whole user journey. They clicks on an ad, then they go into the application, and then from the application, they click on this. Like, that, I don't think I have very good examples of that, but I know they can be done. And even the A/B testing, I've done some A/B testing in the past, and you know, I just find it to be inconclusive a lot of the time. So let me know how that goes, Phil. I'd be really interested. I mean, in fact, yeah, that would be really cool to see how that works for you, and more the specifics, because it's easy to say I do testing and I do A/B testing and I do all that kind of stuff, but very rarely do you see anybody who shows you actual real stats and say, you know, how this works. So like we did on one of our YouTube videos, we did A/B testing recently, and one of them was like 11%. Like, I did 2 different thumbnails, and one of them was like 11% better than the other, which was not overwhelming, but it was okay. So Harish says, how to market apps. Again, we talked about this before. It's a loaded question. There's so many different ways, and it depends on the app. It depends on your target user. It depends on your budget. It depends on what you have at your disposal, right? But if you give me an exact, like, so we could bounce some ideas off each other if you give me some specifics. But how to market apps is a really loaded question. Like, if I gave you the secret to marketing apps is this one thing, then everybody would be doing that one thing, and it would not be effective. Bart Rocca says, have you thought about tweaking your ear agent iOS icon by having the agents use earpods instead? No, I haven't. I like the things. So no, I haven't. I haven't even thought about it. That might. You know what? Nah. I mean, I still think earpods look a little bit silly. I think they'll redesign those at some point. And I like to use the same icon for both iOS and Android. And I'm lazy, I think. Awale Studio says, sir, can I add my app to Play Store without writing a preload ad code for Admob? Preloading ad code for Admob. Yeah, you should be able to. But what you don't want it to happen is you don't want to have it popping up in the middle. You want to have it on a transition. This is why the preloading is good. Because you can preload, and then that way when I go from this screen to this screen, then I show the interstitial in between, because you don't want to have it popping up 5 seconds after they made that transition already, because that goes against the guidelines, going to result in accidental clicks. I know this because I've had my ads stopped because of that reason. So you have to have it on a stuff. So Arima says just on Facebook groups. Sorry. So thanks, Arima. So this is something. So you've been sharing your app on Facebook groups. Has that worked for you? I mean, doing it on Facebook groups. So yeah, Arima, if you want to share your app, we can have a look at it. Oh, we got 10 minutes left. Let's see. CH Development says, I started. So Greet says, thanks for the good luck with the sequel video. Yeah, I need to write that one down. So you know, it's hard. Like when I was doing the videos every day, I had this long list. So I was always like, okay, what am I going to talk about today? And now when I do it twice a week, I think it's like I'm doing it. I'm trying to think of the best thing to talk about, and then something else bumps something else. So let's see. CH Development said, I started an ad campaign for some of my apps. I get around 10 downloads, 203 clicks, and 6.61K impressions, all for 70 cents USD. Apart from the bad stats, the price is great if you ask me. This, I think, yeah, if you know, for me, Admob has so much real estate out there that you could do like really low cost per click campaigns and still have plenty of impressions, right? So, and I'm sure, you know, it's going to be showing up somewhere, and I'll bet with those low bid prices, I'll bet it's showing up on some apps that not a lot of people are using, but at least you get it out there in front of people, right? And especially if you go for non-US, non-UK markets, you could have it you spread really quick, and then at least you get the reviews. You can get the reviews into the application. Hopefully, you can get the download numbers, and you can start to snowball, and hopefully it'll rise up in the ranks globally across all markets. Rodrigo says the 64-bit thing is easy to check, and depending on the framework, easy to solve. I forgot one app, and I'll have to re-upload. Yeah, I think I see a lot of the apps that were on this list that they sent me were Corona apps, and I remember I just re-uploaded them just a couple months ago, but because you're depending on a third party, you don't have a lot of control over that, so I might just have to re-download the latest one, check to make sure that they are compiling into 64-bit, and then upload them again. And because I don't think, I'll have to check that out. Mohammed Khalif says, sorry to ask you again, but can I develop my own social media app? Else I know UX, UI design. Yeah, you should be able to develop your own social media app. What do you mean? Else I know UX, UI design. Mohammed, if you could just clarify that one. Let's see. Phoenix 3 says, "Hey, published my first game a week ago and haven't got any downloads yet. Can you give any tips to get started? Here's the app. Play.google." Why am I reading the URL? Let me just let's have a look at this. So this is for Phoenix 3. I'll show my screen here in a minute. And this app is called Neon Codebreaker, and he hasn't had any downloads yet. So he's got one review. So is that you? To answer our questions earlier. So here we go. We got Codebreaker. Now this looks like one. So let's look at it from. Let's go through the ABCs of marketing. A, are people finding it? Do people know about it? What are they searching on to find it? Are they searching on Neon Cube Breaker? What kind of things do you expect your users to be searching for in order to find it? And if they do, where are you ranking in those search terms? So like if I look at something like this, I'm kind of not sure where to go other than say a fun physics game maybe, and so how can we get them to find it? What kind of stuff would they be looking for in order to find this game? And if they do, where are you ranking, and how does your icon look in comparison to the rest of them? And then you can run like a Google Play experiment to find out, to try different ones to see if it goes through. So that's A. Like, do they know it exists? Do they find it? Is it showing up in search ranking? Number 2 is do they see the value in it? So if they actually, so this goes to looking at your Google Play page, your Google Play user acquisition report on the Google Play console. So you can see, are they actually getting to this? Are they getting to this page, and are they making the download? So how's the conversion rate looking? So if they are seeing this page and they're not making the download, then we have to look at the screenshots. And just right off the bat, we talk about this a lot. The screenshots I think the screenshots are cool, but I can't tell very much about it. I can't see what it is. I see these things, but I don't know. Am I the player? What do I do? Do I swipe? And this might be maybe having a few screenshots with a finger in it to show what it does. Maybe and then saying if it's a simple game. So it said break the queues by clicking on them to increase your score. Cool. So make it have a finger on there and saying this right here would be good above one of these screenshots. Still have it here. Depending on what. This first few sentences are going to be very key towards the rankings too. So you want your keywords in this sentence, but this is also the first thing you want to know. So this would be good above here with the finger on it, and then having this kind of stuff. Break many cubes. So all of these things could be like above the screenshots, because that's what people are going to read if they get to that bit. But that's going to be irrelevant if they're not getting to this page to begin with. So if anybody has anything else to say to Phoenix on this one, let him know. Let's see. Ravi Kumar says, please expand a little bit. How do you market your apps? Does being a famous YouTuber helps you? It has not helped me at all. And I'm not a famous YouTuber. So I really appreciate that, Ravi. But you know what? I've never... you know, I've always seen other YouTubers have a lot more views than I do, but no, that's not a thing. So let's see. Roman Sisic says, let's see, go back to Roman Sisic says, I just checked Ear Agent on my 64-bit device and it only contains a 32-bit lib lame SO libraries. Oh, is that what it is? God. Oh, do I have, oh no, do I have to change that? So it's a dependency that's holding me back. Is that it? God. All right, that makes sense. So even though I compiled it recently, it's probably a dependency. All right, so Arima, so we're gonna have a look at Arima's app here. So Arima's been asking about marketing this application. Let's have a look. And this app is called, oh, this is Arima. Which one is it we want to look at? You only have, so this is GBC apps. Is this right? Is it all the apps that we want to look at? So we got Hello, GBC apps. Let's look at the, so Arima, if you could just answer me really quick. Let me scroll down to the bottom so I can see the things. So you've actually, it looks like, is this, am I looking at the right apps? Is this the one we're doing? I think this is the link you sent me. If you can just include a bit more information on this. For now, let's go back to Christopher Onugbo. Hey, Christopher, how's it going? Welcome back. Good to see you. Hey, Eric, would you mind reviewing my newly released app called Grounded for iOS? Sure. Let's do that one real quick. And again, by the way, when I am not an expert. I am an app developer. So anybody else who wants to weigh in on these, please do. Right, it's just a lot of these give my my opinion on this. Grounded, quit cannabis. Oh, cool. Ooh, I mean, this is not a. I mean, I don't have an opinion about cannabis or not, but I'm just saying this is like a really good, very targeted app. So, like, being able to identify your target users in this case would be really, really easy. Let's see, you stay grounded for 2 months. That's cool. Let's see, you've got 7 ratings, 4.9 after 7 ratings. That looks good. This looks pretty cool. Exactly what I need. A great tool. You got some really good reviews on this, Christopher. I mean, I would imagine if you were going to do like a face. So, and let's see. Do you have in-app purchases? Sorry, let me look at this. So, price is free. Do you have? It usually says if you have in-app purchases. This isn't all. Christopher, is this all ad? How are you monetizing this? The iPad version. Yes, the iPad ones look a bit stretched. Is that how the app looks, or did you tweak the images? Let's see. I think this is really cool. Is this and this? I think it's cool. So like for this, I would think this would be a perfect opportunity for a Facebook ad, right? That could be like, because you have, I'm sure you got loads of people on Facebook who are, I mean, with the legalization of cannabis all over the place, I'm sure you got lots of people who are big fans. I mean, just look at there's a whole subculture here. I mean, there's a whole culture here, not a subculture. There's a whole culture here of people who are big fans of it, and some people might think they're doing too much. And you could just put that question on a Facebook post saying, do you think you need to cut back or whatever? And just putting that out there in those groups or targeting those users, you're going to get a lot of people who comment on it and say, screw you, man. I don't, they'll do stuff, but just the fact that you'll have lots of comments on it, it will start to spread a little bit, and you'll get like a lot of feedback on it, because I'm sure there are a lot of people. By the way, when I look at this, the one thing my eyes are drawn to is that you have 0 battery on the screenshot, which has nothing to do with nothing, but just the first thing that pops into my head. But I thought, Christopher, this looks really good to me. I mean, is this something, do you have a lot of, I mean, I'm not going to ask you if you have a lot of competition, because if you don't, I don't want anyone to copy, but I think this looks really good. I don't know what to say any too specific here. Let's see. Let's go back. So yeah, we are. It's 6 o'clock now. So we're gonna stop with the questions. I'm gonna answer what's here, and there's quite a few. But if you could stop putting the questions in now, please. Let's see. Where did I left off? Let's see. Oh, Gianluca Sasana, for my Flutter apps, I received a 64-bit email from Google. Oh, really? For a Flutter application? Wow. Let's see. Oh, Phoenix 3, you use Game Maker for that? Okay. Let's see. Oh. Let's see. We got... Phil says, regarding Portland, it's definitely trendy and more recently has a Northern California weather now. It's also cheaper to live than Seattle and California. Lazy. Young people go to retire here. Cool. Yeah, you know what? One day I would like to live on the West Coast again. That's my goal, is to go back. I keep thinking I'd like to go back to San Diego, but now every time I go back to San Diego, I look at all the traffic and I think, I don't know if that would be one thing. There's so much traffic, but I'd like to live by the sea. But who doesn't, really? Hawk says, do you need something special to enable acquisition reports? It shows all zeros for me, while I did get a few installs. Does it show all zeros? Make sure you're doing, make sure you got the time frame right on that. And also, it won't do like the current week. If it doesn't have enough data, it won't show that. Let me stop sharing my screen here. Let's see. Phil J says, regarding traction, here's my progress so far. Happy to share the results. I'm currently testing line 15. I have not done A/B testing, but using the same message across different channels to find it performant. So here we go. Oh, cool. Let's open this in a new tab. Phil, I hope you don't mind if I share this with everybody. Let's see. I guess anybody could have clicked on that. So let's have a look. So, I need permission. Okay. Let's see. Sazad Niloy. Hey, Sazad. Cool Batman logo. Says, how much can you earn from the average apps in a month? It depends on the app. Like, there's no such thing as an average app. Some do really well, some don't do so well. So it's different. It depends on the application itself. Right? You're selling a product. It's not like all apps make a certain amount of money, and there's an average. So it's like I have some that do really well, and some of them that they're like, the only reason I keep them around is because they might take off at some point. Let's see. Arima says, electricity went out. Didn't get to hear what you said. I'm sure you could catch up with it a bit later on. Sorry about that, Arima. I don't want to repeat for everybody. Lesio Bourbon says, from Brazil, I'm making an iOS app that contains crash courses, quizzes, and forums. What framework resources would you recommend? Well, I would think that if you're going to do something with quizzes and forums, you might want to... You could use WordPress. I mean, just because you have like BB forums and quizzes, you have all those plugins, and then you could have like a web interface too. But you have to make sure that they have an API that supports it. We have like one of our clients has a WordPress site and an app that's connected to it, and we've inherited the app. It's an Ionic app. And we keep running into the problem where the plugin that's being used, the API doesn't exist, so we're like writing our own little bits to it, and that's kind of a hassle. But I think just something around those ways, Lesio, Lesio Bourbon is, I would think, yeah, starting with a framework on that would be really good, because that way you don't have to think about the admin side. You don't want to write a forum from scratch. So if you can use something like that, that would be cool. Shah Ash says, Wix versus WordPress or WorldPress. I've never used Wix because it's a paid platform, isn't it? I always see it before YouTube videos. So I've only used WordPress. I am not a WordPress fan. It's free. Put it on a server. There's so many plugins. Rodrigo says, Eric, if they sent you an email today, those apps are not compatible with 64 bits. Tell me one and I will check. Yeah, I think it's Yeah, Ear Agent's one of them, which I was really surprised about because I thought I released that recently. It's going to be fine, and I think it's because of the dependency lame library, which says the MP3 encoding is probably what it is. Pratik Gupta says, I'm an iOS developer and I know Swift language, and today I went for an interview and they asked me to have a project, but you have to use Ionic framework. What was it? What? Wait. So Pratik says, I am an iOS developer, I know Swift language, and today I went for an interview and they asked me, we have a project, but you have to use the Ionic framework. What should I do? I am a fresher. You can learn the Ionic framework. I think if you spin it in the fact that, Swift is gonna. Well, I think Swift is harder than Ionic, right? Ionic it can be very difficult because you have to know some advanced JavaScript for it. But like if you know Swift, I think you would be okay with it. And the nice thing about the Ionic framework is it's meant to be easy to pick up. Like the starter project on Ionic makes it really easy to learn, right? That's why you go through, you do Ionic create, and then the name, or is it Ionic start? I can't remember. And then you create it, and then it creates the one with the chat and everything that you can go through and see the mechanics of how it works, and you can work from there. I think you'll be fine. The value add that you have as a Swift developer is when you get into a situation where there's no plugin in place, you can write that plugin. And I think you should focus on that Pratik when you're pushing yourself on that. So let's say so Arima. Let's have a quick look at the Arima's app. And we're gonna have to stop taking questions. I think we already have stopped taking questions. Good. So let's go through this. Arima. So Babian Pro is my best, she says. So let's see. And we're gonna look at like marketing opportunities. So Babian Pro Babian. Babian, is that it's an ancient script that is fun and educational game. Babian aims to help you learn Babian as efficient and fun as possible. So is this something that there's some demand for? I mean, if somebody was searching for it, so let's have a look. Let's do a quick search on Babian. So there's actually quite a few, but you're not ranking too bad on this one. But there's a lot that are doing better than yours. I mean, just in terms of search. But it's not too bad. So if we're gonna do that, let's say Babian, we're looking at search results, and they come across this, and what could we do to make it stand out more than the rest of them, right? So this looks kind of similar to this one, but if I was looking at these two here, I would think that this one has more on it. And again, it depends on the language, but like there's very similar here. How can we stand out from the rest of it? So let's go back. I would think that again, like talk about having doctored screenshots, annotated screenshots. So rather than say learn the Babian ancient script in a fun and educational game, that could go above one of the screenshots. I mean, it's still good here in the description, but it could go up there. So if people are hitting this page, are they making the downloads? So again, going back to the acquisition report, are people hitting this page? If not, they may be going to one of the other ones. So we'll look at the icon, which I think would be the first one. So learn Baby. Let's do that. See, you're at the same position when we do learn, so because that has that same name, and some of these just do better. Let's have a look at the top one and see what they're doing. Oh, you could beat this one. Oh, Arima, you could beat this one. So this doesn't look all that compelling either, but I mean they do have the downloads. And they have a lot of reviews, so you have to get around that problem by getting more reviews, which is easier said than done. But I think you can do better with better screenshots. Change the icon. Use the do an experiment on the icon and see if you could get different ones showing up in different locations, and that way you can see if you could do better than that. Test out different type of stuff, because at this point, go back. At this point, if we're looking at this is the decision. As a user, I go in, as a user, if I'm interested in this, I'll type learn Bebe in. I would see this. I would go to this one first. Maybe I'll check out this one. But yeah, if you had something that really stood out in terms of an icon, then my eyes would be drawn to that, and I would go to that one first. But the rest of you guys, let her know what you think. Let him. Sorry, Arima. I'm sorry. I don't know if that male or female. Sorry. Mohammed Khalif says, I mean, user experience designs. Someone focuses on user, what they need and what want. User interface design, or is a designer focused on color and more. So Mohammed, if you're a user, if you're a UX designer and you want to do a social media network, I think that would be very good, because then you could draw up your designs and go to somebody else to help you with that. It's almost like if you've ever, so some people are just really good at GUI and really good at UX, and some people are really good at the back-end systems, and some people are good at both, but they're very rare, or some people are passable at both. I think I'm probably passable at both. Some people would disagree on either side of that, but I think it's a good skill to have. Jason David Espinoza Sile says, sorry, let me go back to this. You are really helping us to improve our app development area. Cool. Thank you very much, and keep doing it. You are the best. God bless you. Hey, thanks very much. Ravi Kumar says, please also review my app. Okay, so let's take a look at this one. So, and we are keeping track. Let me go back to the last one. Last comment is Live for Tech. So anything after Live for Tech, we're not going to do. So let's go back to this one. This one is called Tabla. This one is for Ravi Kumar Sharma. Tabla, real sounds, Indian drum music instrument. Ah, nice. Ooh, and you got a video. That was the one thing about the one with the cubes, right? That I forgot to say that. The one with the cubes, I forgot which one it was called. That one would have been really good with a... that one really could have used a video too, just to see how it worked. When I talk about having the finger and saying crash the smash the boxes, that would have been really good with a video. So let's have a look at this. This looks really good, Ravi. You somehow managed to film the screen and not get a glare. How did you do that? Nice editing. All right, I'm gonna stop being all jealous of your video here. Let's have a look. Play and learn Tabla. Roll graphics and sounds. Music loops. I think this looks really good. So let's do a Google. Let's do a search of this. See where he's showing up, and we could look at the App Annie, but we'll just have a look at this because it's not too much time. So there's actually quite a few. So he's say some studio. So okay, we got a lot of very similar looking icons, which I guess makes sense, but I mean, is there any way you could stand out in some way? So where are you ranking? Are you on here? Oh, here you are. Okay, so yeah, so let's see, real sounds, India's, let's go back. Indian drum music instrument. Yeah, I'm trying to think what other things could people be searching on, because we're down here in the ranks. In fact, you know what? Let's have a look at this at App Annie. So okay, so We got tabla, Indian drums. Okay. Sorry, I got Neil texting me stuff over here. XDA. We got a retweet from XDA developers admin. Cool. I suppose that. Let's see. Now at 20,000 impressions on Twitter. Ooh. Okay, so tabla drums. So you're ranking number 9 for tabla drums, which we looked at. For tabla, you're ranking number 9. Tabla, you're ranking 15. Okay, tabla with the thing. Let's actually look at U.S. markets because that's really what we want to. For me, that's the big market. Actually, let's look at India market too. Assuming that that's going to be the primary market. So we got tablas number 9. So yeah, how can we increase those? So out of 233, you're ranking number 9, which is I think is really good. But how can we get it up higher? And it would be like, what other things are people searching on? So if I was going to do, let's go back to, actually no, let's go back to Google Play and do tabla space, tabla tell app, tabla book, tabla tuner. So these are some of the things that people are searching on. So you could try some of those. Let's try tabla A, tabla app, tabla with a towel. So you could put towel in there and see how it does it. Tabla and tempura. So I'm not sure if any, not being familiar with the subject, I'm not sure what tabla book, tabla beats. We could put beats in there. So there's lots of things you do. If you go through and do the A, B, C thing on here, you might get another keyword that you can put into your title and might be able to work that out too. So really you want to get that up there and think of how you could do it. And it's knowing your target user and what they'll be searching for. So yeah, I think Ravi, I'm pretty impressed with that. So I think it looks really good. Let's go back to Christopher says, this is the MVP, but I plan on making a subscription after getting enough users. Cool. I think, Christopher, I think, like I said, I think that's a really cool looking app. Okay, Phil Jays. Phil from Oregon. Let's have a look at his traction sheet here. Let's see. Fresh. So he's been going through and doing an advertising campaign. Oh, nice. I hope you don't mind me sharing this. Google organic, traffic potential 15,000, click-through rate 2.3. You are way more organized than I am. Let's see, click-through rate into iTunes conversions. Cool. Data source analytics. Clark Club, email ads. Cool. See, I'm really bad about doing it. I mean, like if I do an AdWords, like an AdSense account, I'll go through and look at that as we go. But I don't do too much in terms of keeping track. I got to keep a spreadsheet. This looks really organized. This is the kind of thing that I like to tell people I do, but I don't. So that looks really cool. Let's see. Shivang Chauhan says, Eric, what do you think about Flutter currently? I'm still very excited about Flutter, but I haven't got into actually doing it. I talked to a developer because we've been looking to hire like new developer partners. So I've been talking to lots of them, and I have one that was telling me why they would not use Flutter, and I was like, no, we gotta. I still think I think, and this could just be my perception. It's like I like it much better than I like React Native. I think it seems it's a lot less clunky than React Native is or Ionic. I mean, those are good frameworks, but every time I go through, and so I got my developers working on React Native, so they check everything into Git. I download everything. I say, okay, what node version are we on? What NVM version are we on that I have to do the npm install with? And it always, and I always have some sort of dependency problem, and it takes so long to get through that. Whereas I think it's much easier to use Flutter, and that's just me. But yeah, I get the Flutter question frequently. Palav Doobie says, how good is Ionic? It's pretty good. Right? I mean, I have my issues with Ionic. Like I did that video last week where I said, okay, you know what? My biggest video, one of my biggest videos was the one where I talked about why we're not using Ionic anymore, which we're not, but occasionally we might. Like if it's something we need a PWA for, we will, right? If it's something like we have one app that we said we'd have the we'd have iOS, Android, and PWA, and it was that PWA part where we did use the Ionic framework for that. Even though I had this video saying we no longer use it, we had this one project we were using it for. So I did the video where, when they asked me, Ionic said, you know, it could be damaging our product. So I did the video, say, okay, look, send me some, like, if you could show me that it's not that bad. So I did the video, and immediately one of the first comments was, Eric's sold out. He's been paid off. I thought, God, I can't win. I can't keep everybody happy. But I think Ionic is. I mean, I'm an Ionic fan, but my fear is a whole WebView thing. I mean, that's a big shortcoming in my opinion. Let's see. Mass apps. Review my app. No, please. So we're gonna look at this for mass apps. Let's see. And so have a look at this one. This one is called Torrent Downloader Torgo. Okay, so you've got a torrent downloader file from internet. You got 50. Oh, so actually you've got like quite a few downloads. It's high speed peer-to-peer file sharing, best torrent downloading app for Android with no speed limit. Do people actually do torrents on devices? I mean, this is how naive I am. Let's see. Let's go back and just do a search on torrent. So I guess there is a uTorrent. So Tor goes down here. Do people still call it BitTorrent? And BitTorrent, you're quite a ways down. It looks like it's kind of a crowded space, but I mean, you're getting the downloads here. Now, are you getting? So I'm not. And again, when we look at this, if I do this, you're. Let's go back one. Let's go to torrent. You're kind of down quite a bit. However, I think yours looks like the most, like you are bucking the trend in terms of what the other icons look like, which I think is really good. Like it's the kind of thing where your eyes are going to that. If you're thinking in terms of Pirate Bay, again, I'm old. What can I say? Pirate Bay or whatever. Then you would go to that. But let's go back into that app. And again, you could have with the acquisition. If you're having people get to this page, you could have more about the unique features of this opposed to something else. So Torgo is a high-speed server. Using a high-speed server to download file from the internet, peer-to-peer, like all this stuff could go above the screenshots because it's in the description, which is good, but people aren't necessarily going to read the description, so you could put it in the screenshot someplace. And you have room here, especially since you've got all these files. And again, let's have a look. Sacred Games, Dark Season 1. Hopefully, like if you're going to do something with content on it, you'd want to have something that people might be searching for, they might be interested in, just because their eyes would be would go towards it. So something that's trendy and new. That people might actually be downloading. But to me, it looks kind of cool. Ron Sand says, hey, I'm a big fan. Cool, thanks, Ron. Dev STT says, hello, advise me about a tool to develop Android apps only containing text and images, kind of a blog app from an average PC, please. So if you're going to do an Android app from a tool to develop an Android with only text and images, kind of a blog app. For that kind of thing, you could, like, if you didn't want to learn a language, you could go to one of the app builder software, but then they have their own limitations. But at least you could test the market. Go to something like AppyPie or one of those kind of things. You could do that from a PC. If you use Ionic, that's another example of one. But if you have a blog, you need to have a back end. So if it's going to be RSS feeder, or how that's going to work. Basically, anything will work from a PC if you're on Android. That's not going to be a thing. And it doesn't really matter if you're just going to have text and images or if you're going to have audio or whatever. You could go with something that's a bit more, like a framework. Rodrigo says, yeah, your agent is not compatible with 64. Just found an easy way to check the APK pure. It's a lib lame problem. Yeah, I know. Okay, so thanks everyone for checking that for me. Ron says, your channel is great, very insightful. Cool, thank you very much. Yaz2Yaz says, please review my app. Okay, we'll have a look at this. Rodrigo, sorry, Neil, are you still around? 7 minutes left. Okay, 7 minutes left. We got 5 minutes left. So we're gonna just do 5 more minutes because it is getting late, and you know. And I always do yeah, we got Neil has been over there doing stuff in the background, and he's got to go to bed, and I got to go eat. So okay, so this is this one is for Yaz2Yaz, who says please review. This is Retro Games Collection. Got 11 reviews. Retro. So okay, cool. So you got a video. Cool. Let's have a look at the video. Go back to the 80s. If only it were possible. I still dress that way. Cool. I think the video looks really good. I mean, you got all this space here, so I mean, I know I'm looking at it on a PC, but it's possible you could put some more text up here on the sides, but it depends on what you want to do. So. Or I mean, it's just a video. So if people aren't seeing the video, then it doesn't matter. But you could have something like background of an actual 80s arcade, and then you got all the screenshots here, which is, I think this looks good. It looks really cool to me. You've got 11 reviews, 500 plus installs. How's it doing in terms of? So I think retro. We see a lot of retro. I imagine that's a really crowded keyword. But. Find all 70s, 80s games. So Retro Box Premium. So you got the paid version and the free version. What else we got over here? Does it have in-app purchases or just ads? I think this is. Anybody have anything else to say to Yaz2Yaz on this one? Let's see. Oh, did I not share the screen? Oh, I didn't show the screen. Oh, jeez, this is what happens when the live stream goes too long. Okay, this is Yaz2Yaz's app here called Retro Box Retro Games. Here's the video. Looks really. I think it looks really good. So anybody else have a look at that one and let Yaz know what you think. Again, whenever it goes by, whenever the live stream goes too long, this is when I start making mistakes. Actually, I make mistakes throughout, but you know. CH Development says thanks for another great live stream, Eric. Thank you very much. We got a couple more minutes here. PY Dev says, please check my app. Played at google.com, blah, blah, blah. Let's go. So this is for PY Dev. PY Dev, pretty young thing. So yoga workout, yoga for beginners, daily yoga. I like the icon. Oh, I like the screenshots too. 10 plus beautiful categories. You got 68 reviews. It looks like you're doing all right here. A lot of really good reviews. 500 plus installs. So for like 500 plus installs and you got that many reviews, I think that looks really good. I think so. Do daily yoga. Let's have a look at how it would be ranking though. I think it looks. I mean, I think the icon looks nice. I think it looks very polished. Daily yoga. So yeah, I mean, the market might be very crowded, but even with the crowded market, you seem to be doing pretty well. I'm not seeing it here. Where is it? Firstly. Okay, so you're all the way down here. So, but yeah, even given that, I think you're doing. I think it looks like you're doing really well. That icon looks very similar to that one, but I guess actually not really. I guess it's kind of a thing. To me, that looks really good. I think this would be a really good one for Facebook. I mean Facebook ads. And I was watching something this week, a Russell Brunson video where they talked about the difference between search advertising, which is somebody searching on something, and interruption advertising, where we always think search is much better than interruption marketing because people are searching for it. You're not interrupting people, but then in some ways, especially have something that's a crowded market, you don't want people going in and thinking, I'll go for the cheapest or the nice. You want them to going for, you can get in front of them when they're not even thinking about if they need a yoga app, and actually getting out there in front of them. Benjamin says, just had one of my top 200, one of my apps hit top 200 for all games on the App Store. That's awesome. Let's see. Benjamin Rosenfeld says, Jason Natch, Carpool Dad. All right, let's have a look at this one. This is an iOS application. And again, any of these, is Jason Nash like a famous person? I guess I'm just not up with popular culture, but complete exciting levels, arcade mode. Cool. Help Jason do the carpool rounds. Customize your car. Cool. I think it looks cool. I think the screenshots look a bit stretched to me. I think that one looks a bit stretched to me, but yeah, I mean, I think it looks pretty cool. How's it doing? Oh, 980 rate. So it looks like you're doing pretty well. What kind of in-app purchases do you have on here? 699, 7,100. Cool. I think that looks cool, Benjamin. It looks cool. Live for Tech. Hello, Eric. So Live for Tech, yours was the last one I said I was going to do, but let's have a quick look through it. Benjamin Rosen says just about to hit 100,000. Umar Niaz says, please review my app. I'm not going to have time to review this one, Umar. I'm sorry, because I do have to get going. But let's just have a quick look at it. Just show everybody this one so that if anybody else wants to give a video downloader status, story and downloader. Cool. Again, I think 204. Yeah, it looks like, it doesn't look like you're struggling in terms of downloads. Let's see, 10,000 plus. Yeah, I mean, looks really cool. So like if we looked at the App Annie, what are people searching on? How can they find it? I think it would, but unfortunately, we have gone over time. Let's see. This is his channel. David, was it David Nash? Cool. It was a vid he made to promote it a week ago. He's promoting it even more. It's only hit 18,000 downloads on Android on 68K. Cool. Viola Software says, hey guys, please check my amazing app. I'm going to do a show on that, but I'm not going to have a chance to look at that, Viola. Sorry about that. But if we could come back next week, we could do it the next week's live stream. And that would be cool. Let's see. Leo Ademi says, where can I accumulate knowledge on apps, coding, ad monetization, etc.? There's lots of good YouTube videos out there. Lots of people. Mass apps. Thanks, Eric. No problem. Techno Joe, sorry, I wasn't sharing my screen on that. Just ads. Thank you so much. Yes, says, what is the best for making cross platforms? Unity, Flutter, or React Native? Unity is a game framework. I don't think I've ever heard of it using for not games. Flutter, apparently you use Flame to do games, but I haven't seen it actually in use yet. Or React Native if you're going to do business applications. Ravi says, lots of luck, Eric, and you make apps. Yes, I do. And Sandeep says, I can hire any developer, but need to know which won't give me headaches in the future. God, you and me both. And Randy Hulls. Hey, Randy. Hi, Eric. Hope you're doing well today. I got hit with a privacy policy warning on Admob. Have you ever had this happen to one of your apps before? Yeah, just go. The nice thing is you could just go through and find a privacy policy online and publish it, and then just appeal the Admob thing, and they should turn it back on. And everything should be good. And Biswaji, Eric. Boom! We got to the bottom of the chat. Thanks, everyone. Sorry once again. Viola Software, they didn't have time to look at your app. Actually, let's have a quick look. But no more questions. That's the last thing. And then we're going to go to the zodiac signs, daily horoscope. Again, we just have a quick look. Just if anyone wants feedback, you've got a nice screenshot here. Know your zodiac sign. Daily horoscope's free. I think this looks really good. How are you doing in terms of downloads? 1+. So, but it was released a few days ago. Yeah, Viola, could we have a look at this one next week if you're on the live stream? Anyway, everybody, thanks so much for joining the live stream today. Sorry, I have to get going, but I did go 35 minutes later than I thought I was going to be at the beginning. again, I really appreciate you guys showing up. Thanks so much for subscribing to the channel, watching the channel. Tomorrow's video is going to be about the changes in terms of the Huawei Google thing. Thanks everyone for showing up. I hope you have a fantastic weekend and a fantastic week ahead. And I'll talk to you guys again here next week. Okay, have a good weekend. Bye.